So good morning and welcome to Yoga Over 50, coming from Blue Point Yoga Center. My name is Lynn and it's good to have you with me this morning. So what I have in mind to do today is to actually repeat a few things I did yesterday, but with a different emphasis. So the thing I want to emphasize today is keeping the shoulders toward the back of the body and keeping the shoulder blades slid around toward the back of the ribs. So one thing that can interfere with free movement of the shoulders and can also compromise the ability to hold your weight in your arms is having the shoulder blades kind of draw forward and slide around the rib cage toward the front and stay there. Of course, they're able to do that and then slide back again, but sometimes they get a little bit slid around and get stuck there. And that can cause problems with using the shoulders, both in terms of mobility and in terms of stability and strength. So we'll do a few things that help to draw the shoulder blades around toward the back of the body, and then use that to keep a broad-shouldered, broad-chested posture in all kinds of yoga poses, and including in holding the weight of your upper body on your arms. But we'll begin by lying down. So lie down on your back, make yourself comfortable, either legs outstretched or feet flat with knees bent will be fine. Oh, I was also going to say that I'm going to back up to the wall here for some things, and also use the seat in the back of the chair for some things. Either one of those will work as props. So if you've got a wall or a doorway handy, or a chair that you can rest your hand on, that might be good for a prop. But if you don't have either of those things, no big worries. You can do the practice without. But for now, lie on the floor. Feel your weight sink into the floor. Let your palms turn up toward the ceiling. Just move your arms a little bit away from your body, whatever distance makes your shoulders, your arms, and your hands feel comfortable. Let your breath go easily in and out. Bring your attention inward, away from the cares of the day, just focusing on what you're doing in yoga for the next hour. Let your eyes close or your gaze be soft. Feel your weight pressing down into the floor and pressing down a little more when you breathe in. So just do a little breath experiment here. So imagine that the inhale is where your weight presses most firmly into the floor, and on the exhale you might feel a little rebound. So just use that idea about the breath for several breaths. And then return to your unobserved breathing for a moment. And now we're going to use an opposite idea about the breath, which is that on the exhale, you're letting your weight sink more completely into the floor. So just try that idea for several breaths. And then you can bring your breath back to its unobserved pattern once again. There's nothing either right or wrong about either of those ways of thinking about the relationship between the breath and settling your weight into the floor, in this case while lying down, but could be while sitting or standing also. It just gives you a little different experience by having a little different way of directing your attention. And that's very typical of yoga, that we direct the attention to particular places in order to have a different sort of experience. So let's just do a little gentle warm up here, moving the body. So let's exhale and bring the right knee into the chest, stretch the left leg long, stretching between the two legs. And then we'll switch, pressing the right foot away and drawing the left knee in. And switch once more, back to the first side. And once again to the second side. And then both knees in, and let's just use the hands to bring the knees out to the outside and then back together, and to the outside and back together. And then straightening the arms, letting the knees come away on an inhale and back in on an exhale. The legs are passive. We're just using the arms to move the legs, and then use the arms to stir them around in a circle, going a few times one way, and then a few times back the other way. And let your left foot fall to the floor and loop your hands behind the right thigh. Open at the knee joint, so you're pressing your right foot up toward the ceiling, thighs still staying close to your body. And then on the next time that the foot goes up in the air, let the thigh travel away from your body and straighten the leg, and then fold it back down. And on the inhale, straighten the leg, stretch through the heel, and the exhale, fold the thigh down to the chest and the lower leg down. And once more, and then let that foot fall to the floor, and gather the left thigh in toward the chest, the hands behind the thigh. Inhale and open at the knee joint. Exhale, close the lower leg to the upper leg. Repeat that a few times with your breath, inhaling the knee joint open, exhaling it closed. And then the next time you're going to inhale to open, let the thigh travel away from the body, straighten the knee more fully, leading up with the heel, and exhale and close back down close to the chest. And inhale up and exhale down a couple more times. And then let that foot fall to the floor. Press both heels away from you to stretch the legs long. Reach the arms up alongside the ears with the palms facing in. Take a long stretch of the body from both heels up through both fingertips, and then extra stretch on the right side of the body from the right heel to the right fingers, and then back to the center, and an extra stretch on the left side from the left heel to the left fingers, and then back to the center, and bring your arms back down by your sides, and bring the feet back in flat to the floor with the knees bent, with the feet and the knees at hip joints width apart. And we're just going to articulate the spine a little bit, the lower part of the spine. So on an exhale, press the small of the back into the floor, letting the tailbone tip up. And on the inhale, press the tailbone down and make more space between the waist and the floor. And go back and forth a few times there with your breath, inhaling to tip the tailbone toward the floor, exhaling to press the small of the back into the floor. And then you could come back to a centered position and put your fingertips on the bony points at the front of the pelvis, and then just using the muscles of the pelvis to make a small motion. Press the back of the right hip down into the floor. You'll feel the left hip point press up into your fingers a little, and then go the other way. Doesn't matter which is the inhale and which is the inhale. We're just rocking the pelvis from side to side. So not much is happening except that the weight is pressing down more on one side and then on the other side. And because the two sides of your pelvis are connected, that means one hip comes up a little while the other hip goes down a little. And when you've done an equal number to each side, come back to a centered position, and still with the fingers on the tips of the pelvis, extend on your right side, so pressing the right hip away from the right shoulder, so you're kind of swiveling the hips, and the other hip is coming up closer to its shoulder, and then go the other way. And again, see if you can leave the legs quiet as you do this, and just use the muscles of your core to make this swiveling motion. Again, keep breathing, move on a breath cycle, but it doesn't matter which is the inhale and which is the exhale. And when you've done an equal number to each side, come back to the center, stretch your arms out with your palms facing up in a T shape, and we'll just take a little rotation here. So actually, let's do it with the arms up overhead for a change. So bring your arms up alongside your ears and pick your bum up and move it over just a little bit to the left, and then let your knees fall down to the right toward the floor. They don't have to come to the floor. Getting a stretch along the left side of your body now, past the hip, up past the ribs. Breathe into that space that's stretching. And exhale to draw back up to the center. And then move your hips off a little bit to the right and let your knees fall down to the left toward the floor. Kind of pointing away with the knees, reaching up through the arms. Let your breath travel into the open right side of your body, past your hip, past your waist, past your ribs. And exhale to come back to the center and walk your feet kind of far apart and just let one knee drop in and the other knee drop out. Just letting that roll the hips slightly, rotate the spine slightly. Just going to warm things up a little bit here. And do an equal number to both sides, and then bring your knees back up and the feet back to the center. And now let your arms rest down at your sides once again, a little away from your sides, making kind of an A shape with the back of your arms and the back of your palms on the floor. And we're going to feel the shoulder blades on the floor. So a little isometric. So exhale as you press the back of the shoulders and the back of your arms to the floor, and see if you can feel your shoulder blades sort of gather themselves closer to your spine. And then inhale to relax. Just do that again another time in that position. Feeling the shoulder blades gather together so they're coming away from the front of your body and toward the spine. And relax on the inhale. And now move your arms out to the T shape again, and then bend at the elbows so that you have your lower arms up kind of like gate posts with the palms facing in and the fingers facing toward the ceiling. And we're going to press into the floor again. So on an exhale, press the back of the shoulders and the back of the upper arms into the floor, and then inhale to relax. And then press them down again, feeling the shoulder blades come toward each other, toward the spine. And then inhale to relax. And now from that position, turn your palms up toward the ceiling as you let the lower arms come down toward the floor. And so now you have a cactus arm position with the back of your shoulders, the back of your arms, and the back of your hands on the floor. Or maybe they don't come quite to the floor, in which case if you've got something handy to prop them up so they can rest, that'd be good. If not, don't worry about it. And now we're going to press down again on an exhale. So the back of the hands, the back of the arms, the back of the shoulders into the floor on the exhale, and relax on the inhale, and into the floor again on the exhale, and relax on the inhale. And then once more into the floor on the exhale, and then relax. And you can bring your hands back down near your sides. Just let the knees sway a little bit. Let that roll you over onto one side. Pause there briefly before using your arms to press yourself up away from the floor. And we're going to come to a standing position. So do that slowly since you've been lying down on the floor. You might feel a little bit dizzy as you come fully upright. So take your time getting there. So I'm going to stand with my back against the wall in order to just get a little feedback from the wall on posture, and also a little bit of feedback from the wall on what the shoulder blades are doing. So if you have a wall handy, go ahead and use that. If you don't have a wall and have a doorway, you could stand in the doorway with your back to the door jamb. So the idea is to keep the weight centered into your feet. So we want a nice standing mountain position. So the weight is into the feet. So you need to move your heels far enough away from the baseboard so that there's room for your bum to fit between your feet and the wall. So you could have the back of your hips touching the wall. Check to make sure you got the back of each hip touching the wall. But your weight is in your feet. So if the wall went away, you wouldn't suddenly fall backwards. Now, centering the weight in your feet. Perhaps you can feel also the back of each shoulder touching the wall. And maybe you can feel the back of your head touching the wall. Now just check a couple of things. If you feel like you've got your ribs kind of thrust out and a big arch in the back in order to get your shoulders or your head to the wall, let that go and let the shoulders come a little away from the wall and the head come a little away from the wall. If your shoulders come to the wall easily, but your head doesn't want to come to the wall unless you tip your chin up and kind of put a crink into the back of the neck, then let that go and be content to have your head be a little bit away from the wall. So don't sacrifice length in the back of the neck and alignment of the head over the body in order to get the back of your head at the wall. Okay. So we'll just pause in the standing mountain here. You can turn your palms forward a moment if you like and feel the shoulders broaden. And also probably you can feel the shoulders blades draw together along your back. And if you press your hands back into the wall heel like here, like we were doing on the floor, you can feel the shoulder blades gather together. And the same thing if you slide your arms up and take that kind of goalpost position, and now the forearms are pointing out away from the wall, the fingers are pointing out ahead of you with palms facing in, and you could press back here on an exhale and feel the shoulder blades gather. And then if you rotate the lower arms so that you're in the stick 'em up position on the wall, and on an exhale, press back into the wall, you could feel your shoulder blades gather. And now bring your fingertips to your shoulders so your elbows are sticking out to the side. And we're just going to, in an inhale, raise the elbows up, just slide them up along the wall. On an exhale, let them slide down the wall. And repeat that a few times and see if you can get a little feedback from the wall of the shoulder blades swiveling up and out as you raise your elbows and swiveling back down, coming in toward the spine as you lower your elbows. And then let the lower arm, let the whole arm relax at your sides rather. Okie doke. So now we're going to do a little bit of stepping away from the wall. So let your right heel actually touch the baseboard and turn the toes out a little bit. So we're going to come into warrior one legs by stepping forward from the wall with the left foot. So we'll step forward, take a generous step, bend the knee, just adjust yourself so that you've got the length of distance between the feet front to back to match the amount of bend that you want in your knee. We're going to just check to make sure that the upper torso is rotated to be square with the wall. Okay, so a little bit of rotation there. And then we'll bring the arms up. You could bring them up to warrior arms. If that's not comfortable for the shoulders, out in a wide V would be fine too. So in this position with the heel at the wall, we can press back foot with that feedback from the wall and press forward with the front foot, creating a little muscle tension between the two legs. And take several breaths here. So press into all parts of both feet. And bring the hands to the heart. Now we're going to step the back foot forward to meet the front. It's very hard to step the front foot forward to meet the back. You're very welcome to try that if you want. Seems very awkward. So we'll slide the left foot back so that we can put the left heel against the baseboard in the same way that we did with the other leg. and with the toe turned out a little bit and a bend in the front knee. And just check that if you've slid yourself forward and back, that you still have the heels, well, let's see, so that you haven't stepped behind the front leg is what I'm trying to say. And again, make the distance front to back between the legs match the amount of bend that you want in the knee. Maybe that's not exactly the same as it was on the other side, in which case you might need to adjust your front foot to be at the right distance. Again, the torso is parallel to the wall, so square to the wall, and we'll bring the arms up in whatever type of overhead position is comfortable. So press actively with the back foot against the baseboard. Back with the back foot, forward with the front foot. The joints of each leg aligned, so the toes and the knee of the back leg are pointing out a little bit. The toes and knee of the front leg are pointing forward. Take a few breaths here. And bring the hands to the heart and step the back leg forward. So now let's take a warrior two position. So we're going to slide the right foot back so that the right heel is once again at the wall. There it is, back there. And this time we're going to turn the back foot out further, not all the way so that the back edge of the back foot is right up against the baseboard, but just a little angled away from the baseboard. The front foot remains pointing forward, perpendicular to the wall. And so the hips are now more open to the side. Just check your heel to heel distance. Lining up the heels will be fine. A little more space side to side between the heels would be fine too. Gets awkward if you've stepped too tightly behind. And now we're going to rotate the torso so that if you put your hands up to your fingertips, you're going to have your elbow to elbow line perpendicular to the wall. And we'll stretch the arms out. But when you stretch your back arm out, probably your hand is going to go on the wall, unless you have very short arms. Make your front to back distance of your feet match the bend in your knee. You can look out over the front hand. And now we have the opportunity to press the back heel into the wall and also to press the back hand into the wall and kind of firm up this posture. And maybe here you can feel your shoulder blades gather toward your spine, the same way they did when you were pressing the back of your arms into the floor or into the wall. You can look out over the front hand, or you can just look out to the side over the collarbone. Either of those will be fine. And take a few breaths in and out here. And now let's come to an extended side angle. So we'll let the front arm drop to the front thigh. It could be either the hand or the forearm. Stretch the whole spine long. The back hand's going to come away from the wall as you stretch toward your front foot along the top side of your body, continuing to press heel of the back foot into the wall and pressing the front foot forward. Keep the head and neck in line with the spine. You can have a teapot handle of your top hand on your top hip, or reach up out from the shoulder toward the ceiling. You may look up at that if you like, but you don't have to. You could also look down at the front foot or just out to the side, or you could reach your arm alongside the ear with the palm facing down so that your fingers are reaching out in line with your front foot. And take a few breaths here, pressing forward with the front foot, pressing back with the back foot. There's just something stabilizing about having your back heel against the wall in this way. And then on an inhale, rotate yourself back up to the warrior two position and let your arms drop and turn your feet to face back forward and walk the feet back in together. Okay. So now we'll do that on the other side. So we're going to slide the left heel back to rest against the baseboard with the foot turned out quite a bit. So it's not quite with the little toe edge of the foot against the wall, but a little bit of an angle away. And step the front foot away from the wall so that you have the amount of distance that you'd like to have to match the bend in the knee so that your front knee doesn't go past your front ankle. So the hips are not quite facing along the wall, but a little bit toward the front from that. And we rotate the shoulders to be perpendicular from the wall. Putting the hands on the fingertips on the shoulders can kind of help get that orientation. And then we'll stretch the arms out. And of course, the front arm can stretch out fine. And the back arm is going to land with the palm on the wall. So just check that you've got a consistent line from the hand that's on the wall through that arm and through your shoulders and out through the front hand. Yep. Press back with the back foot, forward with the front foot. The back hip is gathering a little bit around toward the front. Maybe you can feel the shoulder blades drawing together in the back. The pressing into the wall with the back hand helps a little bit with that. Keep breathing fully here. And then we'll add a little bit of extended side angle, bringing either the hand or the forearm down to the front thigh, stretching the spine long from the tailbone to the top of the head. So the underside of the spine is stretching here, not crimping down. And again, you can have a teapot handle of the top hand, or the arm extended up toward the ceiling, or alongside your ear. And options for the head are to look up toward the ceiling past your arm, or it'll just look out over the notch in the collarbone, or to look down toward the front foot. So press from the planted heel at the baseboard all the way up the top side of your body and out through the head and neck, out through the fingers. And keep breathing and see if you can feel the shoulder blades come together on your back. So here you have to use your muscle energy to broaden across the front of the chest and bring the shoulder blades together. And then press through the front foot and rotate yourself back upright again and turn the feet to face forward and walk them back in toward each other. Okay. So now I'm going to back up to the wall again for a couple of balancing things at the wall. So again, let there be a little space between your heels and the baseboard so that you can have the back of the hips and the back of the shoulders and the back of the head. Definitely the back of the hips, maybe the back of the shoulders and the back of the head, just touching the wall, just for a little feedback there. If you reach around behind you, you'll feel some space between your waist and the wall, maybe a little space, maybe a lot of space, varies. Okay. And now let's do a little raising and lowering of the arms here, just paying attention to whether that space is changing. So bring the arms out in front of you with the palms facing in, and just slowly raise them up alongside your ears as you breathe in, and lower them back down as you breathe out. Paying attention to how it feels with your back on the wall. So are you feeling the waist part of your spine peel away as you do this? If so, moderate the amount of raising that you do of the arms so that you can keep the posture of your spine undisturbed by the raising and lowering at the shoulder joint. Remember, we observe without criticism. So maybe your shoulders don't want your arms to raise quite that far without having to arch the back, in which case don't raise them quite that far. And let them relax down by your sides. And now let's do a little bit of tree pose here. So shift the weight into your right foot, draw the right hip under you, and stand the left toes and knee out to the side. We could just pause there for a moment. See if you can still feel the back of your hips and the back of your shoulders and the back of your head at the wall. And let's bring the arms up to cactus arms here and rest them on the wall. And then, if you like, you can start sliding your leg, your unweighted foot up the standing leg. So there's really no danger of falling over here because you're able to balance yourself with what's touching the wall. And instead, you can pay the most attention to the posture of the rest of your body. So you can pay attention to where your feet are pressing down into the floor. You can pay attention to the hip of the standing leg drawing in toward the center. You can pay attention to the pressure of the raised foot against the standing leg. You can maybe experiment a little bit with having that knee of the raised leg further toward the front of your body versus externally rotated out to the side and closer to the wall. Just notice how that feels different. Keep stretching long through the top of the head. And because you don't have to worry about falling over all the time, you could stay here for quite a while, building some strength of the muscles that, especially the ones that stabilize the outside of the standing leg. But we won't stay here too long. So we can let that foot back down and come to a standing mountain position. Just stay there for a moment. Close your eyes a minute, not a minute, just for a moment, and feel the weight into your 2 feet. Feel the 2 sides of your body and feel how different they feel having stood on one leg for some while. And take a couple easy breaths. And then we'll do that on the other side. So starting in the standing mountain position, so we've got the feet lined up under the hip joints, shift the weight into your left foot this time, drawing the left hip in, the other hip comes up a little bit, and the unweighted right foot turns out to the side, the knee turns out to the side. Back of the hips and the back of the shoulders and the back of the head are still on the wall, and we can bring the arms up to cactus arms. You could just stay right there, pressing your weight into the standing legs, stretching tall, or you could bring your unweighted foot off the floor and onto the standing leg. Keep gathering the hip of the supporting leg in toward the middle of your body. So you're stretching away from the floor, all the way up that side of the body and out through the top of your head. Keep breathing. Notice what work your feet are doing. If your toes seem to be taking a death grip into the floor, see if you might even be able to get them to peel up and spread themselves out and then set themselves back down again. You can probably feel the hip working on the standing leg side, but also on the other side, on the unweighted foot side. Your shoulders are broad, the shoulder blades are gathering toward each other on your back. You could again experiment with letting the knee of the raised leg come a little forward, and it doesn't have to be raised from the floor to do that. You could do this kind of bringing the knee away from the wall and then closer toward the wall if you just have your toes standing on the floor too. And maybe it's time to step back down. So we'll come back down to 2 feet, and let's once again close the eyes, stand in the standing mountain, and just take a moment to appreciate how the 2 sides of the body feel here. And then bring your eyes back open and step a little bit further away from the wall. We're gonna do a little wall sit and then a little bit of chair here with the bum touching the wall. So for the wall sit into chair, let your bum touch the wall, and then bring your spine upright so that you're, again, have your back pressed against the wall. So the back of your hips and the back of your shoulders, perhaps the back of your head, are at the wall. And now you can moderate this as you want. Keep your legs lined up with the hip joints, but if you want, you could walk your feet further away and sit down further, maybe even down to having a right angle at the knee joint. Don't put your knees out ahead of your ankles, however. We could sit here, we could bring the arms out along the wall, sort of sweep them up like an angel wings, and down again. You could bring the arms out to the front, just notice what's happening in your back. And then to bring yourself back up again, you gotta get the feet under you and press through the feet to slide yourself up the wall and come back and rest for a moment in the standing mountain position. And then put your feet a little away from the wall again, and this time bring the hands to the heart and bend at the knees, the hips, and the ankles to just let the back of your bum touch the wall in a slightly supported chair pose. So the knees have come straight out in the middle of the feet. Press into both feet, just barely have the bum touch the wall for a little balance. And we'll bring the arms out to cactus arms. Feel the shoulder blades come toward each other on your spine. Press into the feet. Bring the hands together and now let your bum come away from the wall a little bit as you press through the feet to straighten the legs, reach the arms overhead on an inhale, and exhale the arms down to the sides. Okay, great. So now I want to repeat a couple of plankish things, paying special attention to the feeling of the shoulders drawing toward the spine, the shoulder blades drawing toward the spine. So we'll come back toward the mat. Now, being at the wall here is kind of a great opportunity for a squat down if your knees are agreeable to that. So you can moderate the squatting by letting some of your weight rest into the wall as you bend at the knees and the hips and the ankles and sink down to however low your knees think that you should go before bringing your hands to the floor and coming around to a hands and knees position. If that sort of squatting is not your thing, then bring yourself down to a hands and knees position in whatever manner you like. So we'll put the wrists under the shoulders, side to side, either under the shoulders or a little ahead, front to back, and the knees under the hip joints, the lower legs out behind the knees. And first of all, let's just do that action in this hands and knees position of drawing the shoulder blades toward the spine. So it'll feel a little bit like your collarbones are coming forward a little bit between the shoulders. So just try a little on and off with that action of drawing the shoulder blades toward the spine in this hands and knees position. And then let your hips rock back, arms extended out in front in an extended child's pose. You can let your knees spread apart if you like. Take a long stretch from the back of the hips, up past the lower spine, past the waist, out through the fingers. Take a couple breaths here. And then roll yourself forward. We're going to plant the hands with the wrists under the shoulders, tuck the toes, and come to a full arm plank position here. And now see if you can draw the shoulder blades toward the spine and then let that off. Draw them toward the spine and let that off. And then draw them toward the spine and press the hips back to come to a down dog position. And draw the shoulder blades toward the spine here, which is facilitated by rolling the back of the upper arms a little bit inward toward each other. You can bend one knee deeply, stretch the other leg, bend the other knee deeply, stretch the other leg, come back to the center, rise up on the toes, and then let the heels sink toward the floor, and rise up again and let the toes sink toward the floor. And then bring the knees down to the mat. And now plant your forearms on the mat. So the elbows are now under the shoulders. You can either be with the lower arm and the hands flat to the floor and about shoulders width apart, or you can be on the edge of your hands and the edge of your forearms. And we're going to walk the knees back to come to a half plank position. And now draw the shoulders toward the spine. Let it relax. Bring the shoulders toward the spine so it just draws the collarbones a little forward and relax. And once more, draw them forward. And then let yourself rest down onto the floor and let your hands pillow under your chin or your forehead and bend at the knees. Swish the lower legs back and forth, rotating the spine. And then let the legs rest behind you. Pick up one leg and then the other to stretch it away, making space at the front of the hip. And then let your chin or your forehead rest to leave your head in line with the spine, while you let your arms rest out to the sides with the palms and the inside of the upper and lower arm facing toward the floor. So your arms are making kind of a W shape beside your upper torso. And we're going to have a little bit of baby cobra here. And we're going to take the arms up with the upper part of the chest and feel the shoulder blades move toward the spine as you do that. So we'll exhale to prepare, gathering up the lower belly, and inhale to stretch through the crown of the head and bring the face, a little bit of the upper chest and the arms away from the floor, and then exhale down. And we'll repeat that a few times with the breath. Inhaling up and exhale down and lower down just slowly as you come up. So coming down in a controlled way. If you draw your elbows a little behind your body as you come up, you'll feel a little more of that squeeze of the shoulder blades toward the spine. And then let yourself rest back down. You can make another pillow for the head. Let your knees be kind of far apart. Let your hips roll from side to side and the lower legs go from one side to another. Just a little relaxing, twisty motion there. And then bring your hands alongside your ribs, palms facing down, elbows sticking up into the air so that you can press yourself back up to a hands and knees position. So some of you have heard me talk about this before, but if you've seen the movie RBG, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg movie, where it shows her working out with her trainer and doing push-ups, and she has really severe hyperkyphosis, which is the forward curving posture of the spine. And I'm sure that her shoulder blades are slid way around her rib cage toward the front. And when she's in a push-up posture, I mean, it looks frightening because, you know, she has this big arch in her back and it's just not a very strong posture. I mean, she's strong and she's doing the push-ups, but it just looks scary. So we're just going to try a little pushing up and down, but with broad shoulders, with the shoulder blades staying back toward the spine. So not the Ruth Bader Ginsburg posture. So we'll just take a full arm half plank position here. So the wrists are under the shoulders, the knees on the floor, the legs behind. And on an exhale, we're going to bend at the elbows, bow forward ahead of the hands, exhaling down, and then inhaling back up, keeping the chest broad and the shoulder blades gathered toward the spine all the way on the up and the down. Keep breathing. Just only go down as far as you can press back up without undue strain on any of your joints. Take a little break, rock the hips back over the heels in child's pose, stretch
small of the back, stretch along the arms. You can let your elbows rest down and bring your hands up to your shoulders for a little bit of relief of the hands and the arms. And then bring the hands forward again. And we'll roll forward. This time, you can either leave the knees down or you can tuck the toes into a full arm plank. And we'll just do the same thing here. So do what we did before, or if you want a full arm plank, you can let yourself bend at the elbows, let the chest come down on an exhale, push back up on an inhale, all the while keeping the shoulder blades gathered toward the spine and the back. So it's as if your collarbones are kind of reaching forward toward the front of your body. If you're doing a full arm plank, you can press back into down dog for a little bit of a rest position here. Take a couple of breaths. And bring your knees down to the mat. And now let's just do a couple of side planking positions in order to reinforce that idea of the shoulder blades coming together. I always got to have a little padding for this or it makes my hips hurt. So let's be in a forearm plank position today. So come onto your left hip and line up your left elbow, your left hip, and your upper legs along the long side of your mat with your lower legs behind you. So we're supported on the forearm and the hand. And the very first thing to do is just to draw the shoulder blades together. Let the head and neck be in line with the spine. So the head is back in line with the torso. So sometimes the head wants to kind of droop forward, so bring it back. Actually, you know what's a great idea? Is to butt up to the wall here. Oh, we can't do that with the feet behind us, though. Forgot about that. Never mind. So we'll just draw the shoulder blades together. You can feel some spreading across the top of the chest. Let that relax. So when we're doing a side plank, we want to keep that feeling of gathered together along the back of the body, broad across the front of the body. As we draw up with the underside muscles, just bringing the hip away from the floor. Maybe it doesn't come away from the floor. Maybe you just take the slack out of the underside of the body. That would be a fine side plank as well. And keep thinking about gathering the shoulder blades together toward the spine and keep breathing. And then we'll settle back down. You could roll onto your back. Take a little knee sway from side to side. And then we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So I'm going to swap around, but you don't have to swap around. So now we're on the right hip. We've got the right elbow and hip and the upper legs lined up at the back of the mat and the lower legs behind. Just rest the top arm on your top side of your body. So stretch the head and the neck long, making the same line as the rest of the spine. And now we'll just draw the shoulder blades toward each other. So as you draw the shoulder blades, you're also pressing into the supporting forearm and elbow. So just feel that strong supporting position. And then leave that turned on, so the shoulder blades gathered toward the spine as you activate the muscles on the underside of the torso to draw your body away from the floor. Maybe the hips come up, maybe they don't. That part's not important. Keep the shoulder blades coming toward each other. Keep breathing. And let yourself down. You can roll onto the back, take another little swish of the legs from side to side. And now, whichever was the side that didn't seem to want to come away from the floor easily, go to that side. So for me, that's the side I started on. You take whichever one, it might be the one that you just did, and we'll just do that side again. So line up the elbow, the hip, and the upper legs with the back of the mat. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other to square the front of the chest. Just let the upper arm relax, stretch the head and neck in line with the spine. Then gather up the underside of the body to draw your torso away from the floor. Keep gathering the shoulder blades toward each other. Keep that broadness across the top of the chest. If you like, you can reach the upper arm out. Kind of reinforces the idea of a broad chest. You can also reach the upper arm around behind your head. Kind of rest the head back into the hand. That also keeps a broad chest here. Keep breathing. And exhale back down. Roll onto the belly. Pillow your head. Take another little side to side swish. And now, since we've got the wall handy, I hope you have a wall handy. If you don't have a wall handy, use a chair. So we're just going to put the legs either up the wall or on a chair for a little relaxing inversion. So whether you've got your legs up on a chair or up the wall, or maybe just up over your hips on the floor, let your arms stretch out to the side with the palms facing up. And just take one more moment to feel the shoulder blades gather toward the spine and the back, and then let that relax. So we're just going to take maybe 7 or 8 breaths here with the legs up above the heart. If you have your legs on a chair, I hope you put the chair with at least 2 of its feet on your mat, because that keeps the chair from trying to escape. If you're at the wall, let your feet slide down the wall so your knees are bending. You can let the knees butterfly out to the side and the soles of the feet come together. If you've got your legs up the chair, you can let the sides of the feet rest against the seat of the chair or on the seat of the chair to let your knees butterfly out to the side. And if you're just lying on your back with no wall or no chair, you can reach up and use your hands to support the thighs or to support the shins in a little bit of supine bound angle position here. And then bring your knees toward the center. So if you're on the wall, your feet are flat to the wall. Walk your feet out so that they're kind of toward the outside of your body. If you've got your legs at the chair, let your soles of your feet rest at the edge of the chair, walking your feet out to the outside edges of the seat of the chair. And if you're on your back, you're just going to draw the knees toward their respective armpits so that the thighs are kind of spanning your torso and your lower legs are folded toward your upper legs. This is sort of like a big squat position, but on your back instead of with your weight onto your feet. So especially if you have knees that aren't so crazy about bearing your weight as they fold down in a squat, this is a way to accomplish the same position without stressing your knees. Let your tailbone roll down toward the floor. And then I think we've got time for just a little brief figure 4. So if you have your legs on the wall, you can slide your right leg up the wall so that you can bring your left ankle across your right thigh. Now you might need to shift yourself away from the wall to make room for this. So either unbending at the knee or shifting your bum away from the wall will allow more room. If you have your legs on the chair, just set the sole of your right foot on the edge of the chair and make yourself far enough away so that you can bring your left ankle up across your right thigh. Let the left knee roll away from your torso. If you're just lying on the floor, of course, you can just do the regular figure 4, having your knees bent and feet flat, and bring one ankle across the opposite thigh. And now we'll replace the left foot onto the wall or onto the edge of the chair so that we can then bring the right ankle across the right thigh. So you might find this working out differently in that you have to shift your bum further away or have more or less of a bend to the supporting leg here. Let the knee of the crossed ankle leg, that's going to be your right knee, roll away from your body, either toward the chair, toward the wall, or toward the floor if you're lying in the regular supine figure 4 position. Let your tailbone be resting toward the floor, so not hitched up away from the floor. And then you can unwind that foot. So now it is time for Shavasana. We'll just have a couple minutes of Shavasana here. So if you want to just use whatever prop you've just been using, having your legs up the wall or your legs resting on a chair, that'll be fine. If you want to lie flat on the floor with either the legs outstretched or the knees bent, that'll be fine too. Just make yourself comfortable so that you can then become very still. So fidget, become comfortable, then stop fidgeting and just be still. Let your breathing become a little more active now. Make a few wiggling motions of the fingers and toes. If you've got your legs up the wall or on a chair, just let them slide off or slide down so that your knees come in toward your chest. And take a little sway of the knees side to side and let that roll you over onto one side. Rest there for a few breaths. If you're lying on the floor, just sway your knees and roll yourself over to one side. Then press with your arms on an exhale to bring your upper body away from the floor and come around to a seated position where we'll end the class. So sit comfortably with a tall spine. Think again about the shoulders coming toward each other, toward the backbone, creating broadness across the top of the chest. The shoulders are toward the back of the body and away from the ears, elbows hanging loosely at your sides. We'll bring the palms together and the thumbs near the breastbone and close with one Om.
after an inhale. Thank you for coming to practice together today, and namaste.